Welcome back. I am so happy to see you again. Vander and I were expecting you. I was expecting you. Fine, go.
Wow, pero mi oreja se cosa mientras yo no la toqué.
¿Tu oreja? ¿Cómo así?
El cronómetro se puso.
Ah.
Yo como, I'm gonna bring a little love. I'm gonna bring a little love.
I was working on one of my most recent ones that I started, and I thought I should kind of talk about it a little bit just because I'm a little bit all over the place. And I feel like once I come here and talk about something, my mind gets cleared. I don't know if it's because I feel like now I'm having to explain it, so it makes me have to actually organize my thoughts in my head, but that is what I'm here for. I'm here to kind of make it clear for myself and for you, I guess. These are the two sketchbooks that I have been using lately. This one is the one that I use for sketching with my charcoal pencils, and this one is the one that I have been using for my, like, preparing my paintings, and I just kind of sketch the ideas right here. And I feel like this has made such a big difference for me. Just the way that I use my sketchbooks now has affected the way that I make all my art in general. Even just the creative process, not only the process of making the art happen, but even just the ideas and everything. I'd say when it comes to sketchbooks, I'm gonna say for artists in general, because I've heard the same topic through other artists before, so I don't think this is only myself, but sketchbooks are like such a big deal because they are either your best friend or your worst enemy. Now, let me explain. So they can be your best friend because they can be the thing that inspires you to create something. You just open up a new blank page on your sketchbook and you immediately feel like filling it in and you feel like you gotta create something. Or you have the issue that I used to have for the longest time, and it's that I was so obsessed with having my sketchbook be perfect that it would actually make me scared to even use it and kind of just afraid to create stuff just for the fun of it, because I felt like even in my sketchbook it had to be perfect, let alone when I did something on a canvas. I was so involved in my own thoughts of how can I make this look the best that I can so that I can share it online, instead of just having a space where I can just freely create something and brainstorm and see what happens with it. I was not able to do that at all, even in my private sketchbook, because I felt like everything I created and everything I made had to be shared. And I mean, I guess that's kind of a social media problem more than a sketchbook problem, but I think it still kind of applies to that idea that the sketchbook is not a place to experiment and to just be yourself and make art for yourself. And I think it's still okay, like if you have a sketchbook that you want to treat as like the artwork, I mean, I think it's still something I want to do. I want to get one of the sketchbooks that I have on my shelf just waiting to be used and just kind of have every page look the best that I can. But I want a sketchbook specifically for that purpose. Right now, I have some others that I kind of give a purpose to, an individual purpose for each one. And that has kind of satisfied that need for me to have one for each thing. I'll show you a little bit of what's in each of them. None of them are finished and they're not even close to being ready for like a sketchbook tour or anything like that, but I did want to share a little bit of what's inside, just kind of to show what I mean by what I'm talking about. First, this one. This one is my sketchbook where I do most of my portrait studies because I like to do just quick 15, 20, maybe tops 30-minute studies. And I use it more like a warm up. Usually, when I'm getting ready to paint, I like to just get something done here. Or even when I can't really do a lot in a day, when I can't really paint, I'm trying to keep the habit of making something or creating something every single day, no matter what. So if there's a day where I know I can't sit down and paint or I'm on the go, I can just grab this and a pencil or a couple pencils. Besides, I love just sketching faces. And lately, I've really been into experimenting with different things with my paintings, so I kind of just satisfy that need to practice portraits here in this sketchbook. Right now, I use it only for studies, so there's not really a lot of like original artwork here. I just kind of sometimes I take pictures of myself, but usually I just look up pictures on Pinterest and then sketch them and try to do it as natural as I can. And what I mean by that is like I don't really try too hard to make it look realistic or to make it identical as the picture, which I think helps me kind of develop my own style because I'm not really overthinking every line and everything I do on the paper. I'm just trying to do it the way that I can. So it kind of helps me also when I'm painting later because I already have it fresh in my mind. Then I have my sketchbook where I actually plan my paintings, and this is where the crazy brainstorm happens. Originally I used it for just practice of portraits as well with acrylics, but then I decided that I wanted a space where I can just sketch whatever was in my head without needing to plan everything first. Because I do love when a painting has a story behind it. That's one of my favorite things, but I think I was just going at it the wrong way. Before I would do first, I would grab a journal and I would write down a story, or I would like try to brainstorm a inspiration that later I would turn into a painting. And I mean, sometimes that worked perfectly well, but other times it just made me really frustrated because I would try to sit down and write something and I could not think of anything for the longest time. And even when I could write something, I was so frustrated because I feel like what I wrote looked so much better than the image that I came up with. And now I changed the method. Lately, what I've been doing is I just grab a pencil and I grab my sketchbook and then I just draw. I let my mind just go wild, and I have come up with some of my favorite concepts that way. Things that maybe if I was trying to think of logic or a specific symbolism for an idea, I would have not been able to come up with because I was trying too hard. So I now draw first, and then once I'm done sketching whatever it is, I try to extract a meaning from that. And that way I have learned a lot about myself, and I've gotten a lot of more insight of my own thoughts and emotions because I see what my brain comes up with and then I try to understand it. So that's such a fun thing to do. It's almost like I'm trying to see myself from a second person perspective and analyze me as an outsider. So yeah, that sounds a little deep, but honestly, I feel like it is. It has helped me so much also to understand my own inspiration when it comes to art and what really moves me, because sometimes I finish a painting that looks technically well and that I feel proud of when it comes to the technique that I used, or the looks of it, but I don't really feel any connection. Like, if I never saw it again, I wouldn't care. And I don't want to feel that way about my paintings. And the ones I have done lately, because this is something I've been doing recently. I've just started doing this maybe like a month ago, but just these recent paintings that I've done with these methods are the ones that maybe they're not perfect, but they're the ones that mean something to me and I actually value a lot. So yeah, I feel like this technique has been the best thing I've ever done, and I don't want to commit to it and say this is now the way I do things, because I feel like I've changed my method just recently, maybe 2 or 3 times. So now I try not to put that pressure on myself, especially when it comes to creating. You have to be able to move and evolve and just change. So there's no more saying, this is how I do things, this is my technique, because what happens is sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And when it doesn't, then I start overthinking to myself, what am I doing wrong? What's wrong with me today? Why can't I create? But maybe it's just the technique. It's not really what works every single day. So I'm trying to let myself go with the flow. And now I just say, this is what I do until I decide not to do it anymore. So yeah, that's what I've been doing lately. So yeah, next time I will show you a little more of what's in my sketchbook once I work more on it, but for now, this is what I've got. See ya!